We've got a provocative interview coming up. Our next guest is a firm believer. He's a firm believer in atheism. He is a strong believer that God doesn't exist. He is out there not just proselytizing, but he's written a book called The Atheist Way, which is about how an atheist should live. In other words, the fact that atheists can be just as moral as believers. In fact, they have to be. We'll be talking to Eric Mazel coming up on KRON 4 News Weekend. Welcome back to KRON 4 News Weekend. Boy, this is an interview that you're not going to see many of these on television. We were just talking about how Eric Mazel has written a book called The Atheist Way, Living Well Without Gods. He is a coach, he is an author, he's written a number of different books. And this book he's having a hard time getting people to talk about it on the air because atheism is really scary to people, and frankly, I'm a little scared about this interview myself, and I'll explain why as we go on. Just for starters, the gist of what you're saying here is that just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean you don't have to live a good life, that you don't have to live a proper life, a life of morality and meaning.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm trying to sell is the paradigm shift from seeking meaning to making meaning. I think we know enough about how we want to represent ourselves, what our principles are, to kind of just stay put and make meaning. So I am trying to talk to atheists particularly.
What do you mean make meaning?
That we make decisions about how we're going to invest our passion, invest our inner resources, that we make one decision after another.
You mean without looking to some sort of a higher being, some sort of a higher power?
And without looking to you or me or the neighborhood priest or your teacher or anyone. I'm arguing that meaning is subjective, that each person has to be an individual leader to himself or herself. Mm-hmm. That really does revolve back to the individual.
Well, without a creator, without a supreme being, without some sort of a universe that imposes some kinds of moral rules, why would people have morality? Why would they have ethics? Why not have a world that doesn't have any of those elements that we associate with religion?
Your logic is right that everything is permitted. Then, once everything is permitted, individuals must choose. And I think atheists actually do a beautiful job of choosing the same humanist principles that we've known for thousands of years.
Why would they, though? What is the incentive?
I guess I would respond, why not? If you have the feeling that freedom is a good thing, that justice is a good thing, that compassion is a good thing, why wouldn't you choose them? I think the counter-argument works as well as the argument. Namely, once you feel these things are true,
right,
then you would want to support them. Now, if you've grown up in some way in which you're abused or this, that, and the other thing, and you're more pathological,
yes,
then I would understand why you might be choosing the dark side, so to speak, rather than the light side.
And wouldn't somebody like that be helped by faith in something bigger that would help them overcome some of those obstacles?
Or I would say a cultural imperative that you do good. I mean, I think you could argue it both ways, mm-hmm, that rather than turning to what I believe are non-existent gods for the thing you're talking about, if the culture would support the idea that doing good is the right way to go, irrespective of the indifference of the universe, right, then even that person on the dark side would see as a cultural imperative that doing good is the right thing. It would be culturally sanctioned.
Is there a difference between the ethics of an atheist and the ethics of a believer?
If they're good ethics, no, I think they
right,
come down to the same thing. I think all people want to support the same principles of mm-hmm, freedom, justice, equality,
right,
compassion. We could name the whole humanist list, and I think people on both sides, so to speak, would say that they agree. Mm-hmm. One group would say that those values come from somewhere, mm-hmm, and others would say that they're built into the natural system for whatever reasons. I think atheists are a little more honest about saying we have no idea why these values percolate in us, but they do percolate in us.
Do you find that you are very much of an out atheist, mm-hmm, and probably, I'm guessing that 9 out of 10 atheists don't come out of the closet a lot with
and now it's maybe 8 out of 10.
Yeah, right, changing a little. But do you find that people react very negatively to you? Because you do tend to, just in our conversations earlier, you tend to be very negative about belief in a higher power. You really are saying people shouldn't believe. You're a proselytizer for atheism.
I am. And let me just really agree with what
yeah,
you're saying, that I am proselytizing for atheism. I find that people are interested in the conversation. The people I'm speaking to, even the believers I speak to, are interested in the conversation. They have their doubts. I think they have their natural doubts about believing in the dogmas of any given religion. And so far, people have been really quite open
Right, but
to having the
people you talk-
conversation.
Which
The people I
leads me
talk
to, yeah, which
That's
leads me to the
right.
other. We started by saying this is an uncomfortable interview for me because actually you're talking to people who, who may not be the ones that you would ordinarily
Exactly.
associate with, and so people,
Exactly.
some people are saying, boy, you're kind of attacking my beliefs here. And that's uncomfortable for me. And why should you? I'm not going to attack your beliefs. Why should you attack mine?
Exactly. I understand that feeling. My position is that God talk is a betrayal of our common humanity, that the second you
Right.
say you know something.
But when you use the word betrayal, then people who believe say, but you're a
that's right.
betrayal of everything I believe in, and
That's
next
right.
thing you know, we're fighting each other.
And we had that conversation earlier.
Yeah.
I agree that there is a natural antagonism between the two sides. There must
Yeah.
be. I think I'm saying there must be, because I think we believe that what we're saying is important, so important that we have to even enter into an
Right.
antagonistic relationship with the other side.
Eric Maisel, The Atheist Way, Living Well Without Gods. And this is not a screed against God. This is more of a how should you live, and actually everything in here, whether you believe it or not, everything in here is a good way to live. Thank you very much for joining us. And by the way, you can meet Mr. and Dr. Maisel March 22nd, 2 p.m. at Book Passage in Corte Madera, www.bookpassage.com for more information. Thanks very much for
Thanks so
joining
much
us.
for having me.
And I don't know about, I do believe that coming up on this program, we're going to be tasting some chocolate. Now, I have faith in that, and in some things
I
it
do
doesn't
too.
pay. Yeah, thank you. In some things, it doesn't pay to be an atheist. We'll be right back. Tron 4 News Weekend.